Feeling the weight of independence? Ever wonder how to truly thrive when it's just you? Most men think single life is a curse. Society whispers that you're incomplete if you don't have a partner. Friends throw subtle jokes, family asks questions, and every app on your phone tries to sell you the fantasy of instant love and companionship. But here's the truth. Single life, when understood through the lens of Stoicism, is not a punishment. It's a training ground, a chance to forge yourself into someone unshakable. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look." This video is about finding that spring within you, turning your independence into power, building a fortress inside yourself so strong that no rejection, no loneliness, and no societal pressure can knock you down. The unexpected power of single life. Most people see singlehood as an empty space, like something is missing. But a Stoic sees it differently, as room for growth. Think about it. When you're single, your time is your own. Your choices are not compromised. Your energy isn't divided by constant negotiation or the noise of someone else's expectations. But the modern man wastes this gift. Instead of using it to build his discipline, sharpen his focus, and shape his life, he numbs himself. Endless scrolling, late-night distractions, chasing validation in likes, matches, or fleeting attention. Let me give you a story. There was once a young soldier returning from war. While others rushed to rebuild their lives with families and comforts, he chose solitude. For years, people mocked him. "Why are you still alone?" But in that solitude, he studied, trained, built wealth, and forged influence. When the time came, he wasn't desperate for a partner. He became the kind of man others wanted to stand beside. Your independence is not a waiting room. It's a workshop, a crucible where you forge the man you are meant to be. Reflection. Ask yourself right now, are you using your independence to escape life or to build life? Embracing the dichotomy of control, Epictetus, the slave-turned-philosopher, gave us one of Stoicism's sharpest weapons, the dichotomy of control. He said, "Some things are up to us, and some are not." This principle is life-changing in singlehood. Why? Because so much of single life feels like rejection, comparison, or waiting. You can't control who swipes right. You can't control when people will understand your path. You can't control whether society respects your independence. But you can control your effort, your discipline, your perspective, your response. Let me paint this picture. You come home after a long day. You open social media and see friends with families, vacations, smiles. A pang of emptiness hits you. You think, why not me? That's the moment Stoicism demands clarity. You ask, is this in my control? No, what is? Your reaction, your use of this moment, your choice between bitterness or building. Seneca reminds us, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. So instead of craving what's out of reach, redirect, journal, train, build skills, strengthen the fortress of your mind. Each lonely evening is an invitation, not to despair, but to train in silence. A man once told Epictetus that he was ridiculed for not marrying. Epictetus replied, "Better to be laughed at for your independence than to enslave yourself to another's expectations. You are not waiting. You are choosing. Choosing to master yourself first before you open your life to someone else." Tonight, when you feel the urge to escape into distraction, pause. Ask, is this in my control? And then choose the action that strengthens, not weakens, your citadel. The battle against modern noise. We live in the loudest age in history. Not because the streets are filled with war drums or marketplaces like in Marcus Aurelius's Rome, but because our minds are constantly under siege. Every ping of a notification, every scroll through Instagram couples, every family question like, Beta, when will you marry? It's noise. But here's what the Stoics knew. True strength is tested in noise, but forged in silence. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that. Much of the pain of being single today doesn't come from reality, but from imagination. Imagining that everyone else is happy. Imagining you're behind. Imagining you're not good enough. But here's the truth. Most of that noise isn't reality. It's a mental trick, and the man who learns to quiet the noise becomes unshakable. There's a story of Epictetus, born a slave, who endured harsh treatment under his master. One day his master twisted his leg. Epictetus calmly said, "If you continue, you will break it." His master did. And Epictetus, without anger, said, "Did I not tell you?" The lesson wasn't about pain. It was about control. Epictetus knew he couldn't control the cruelty, but he could control his mind. Today, noise is your master twisting your attention. You can either scream in frustration, or you can stay composed and control your reaction. When the world gets loud, do you let it dictate your peace, or do you hold your ground like Epictetus? 7. The strength of choosing. Discomfort, most men chase comfort. That's why they jump into relationships too soon, because comfort feels good. Someone to text, someone to distract them from the silence. But the Stoics didn't worship comfort. They trained against it. Marcus Aurelius trained in cold military camps, eating simple food, sleeping on the ground. Why? Because he knew a man who cannot endure discomfort cannot endure life. Practical tools for today. Cold showers. Not because they're trendy, but because they teach you that you don't need comfort to survive. Fasting. Skip a meal and notice you're still alive. Hunger is just a teacher. Social discomfort. Go to a restaurant alone, without your phone. Notice the urge to appear normal by being with someone. Conquer that urge. Because here's the truth. If you cannot sit at a table alone, how can you lead a life alone with strength? There was a Roman general, Cincinnatus, who was called to save Rome. When the crisis was over, he gave up his power and returned to his farm, living in simplicity. He didn't cling to comfort or status. He embraced the harder path of humility. Your singlehood is that farm, that training ground. Will you use it to strengthen yourself or to escape into false comforts? Write this down tonight. What comfort am I clinging to that is actually making me weaker? 8. Redefining loneliness. Let's confront the word most men fear, loneliness. When you're single, nights can feel heavy. You scroll. You look at couples. You feel the weight of an empty room. Society tells you this is weakness. But here's the Stoic reframe. Loneliness is not emptiness. Loneliness is space. Space to think. Space to build. Space to become. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." But here's the twist. Sometimes the person you must first associate with is yourself. Instead of filling silence with noise, use it. Read a book. Journal your thoughts. Build a skill. Work out. That silence once feared becomes your greatest ally. Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest inventors, lived much of his life alone. People mocked him, called him eccentric. But in that solitude, He built a mind that changed the world. His singlehood wasn't loneliness. It was creation. Is your loneliness a cage? Or is it the workshop where your greatest self is being built? 9. The magnetism of independence. Here's an irony. The man who doesn't need a relationship attracts the best ones. Why? Because desperation repels. Independence attracts. Marcus Aurelius didn't walk through Rome begging for approval. He stood as emperor with humility, but also with unshakable self-assurance. People followed him not because he needed them, but because he carried himself with calm strength. The same is true for you. When you build your citadel, when you can walk alone into a room without fear, people notice. Women notice. Friends notice. Even rivals notice. This is the paradox of Stoic singlehood. When you no longer seek validation, you radiate it. Next time you feel the urge to chase approval, pause. Ask yourself, am I acting from need or from strength? 10. Preparing for what's next. Here's the final truth. Singlehood is not the end of your story. It's the preparation. Marcus Aurelius wasn't always emperor. He was a student in silence. Epictetus wasn't always a teacher. He was a slave who first mastered himself. Seneca wasn't always a philosopher of wisdom. He was an exile, broken and alone. Every great man had a season of solitude. And every great man used it not to complain, but to build. The man who stands alone. So let's bring it all together. Being single in the eyes of society may look like weakness, but in the eyes of the Stoics, it is one of the greatest gifts a man can receive. It strips you bare. It removes distraction. It forces you to build strength, clarity, discipline, and independence. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. That retreat is available to you right now. So don't waste this season wishing it away. Don't drown in noise. Don't run to false comforts. Instead, forge your citadel. Embrace the silence. Train your strength, because when the storms of life come, when rejection, pressure, or even heartbreak arrive, you will not be broken. Why? Because the man who is whole alone can never be destroyed by the world. If this message resonates with you, subscribe and join the brotherhood of men seeking discipline, clarity, and unshakable strength through Stoic wisdom. Your journey to self-reliance starts now.